So he came up with this very new program, and and I hope, Dr. John Wong will, obviously he's going to be, 20 steps ahead of this. Because Prof. Teo and Freddie Boy, also from my school, they came up with this program. They said engineers of the future has to be Renaissance engineers. And Renaissance engineers have to be about ideas, have to be about what we're going to do for the world. We cannot no longer just come out, make another engine, make another car, make it faster. There's lots of issues on Earth to solve. And Renaissance engineering has to be about the meeting of art and science on a crossroad to the future, which is the Medici effect, for those of you who have read the book. So I was okay. The doctors have this, so I spent the lunchtime with journalists. I can never pronounce this, also Socrates, and this becomes Hippocratic. Okay. So they have these oaths, and very interestingly, you go to read the oaths, about anti-abortion, you don't do this, you don't do that, you don't do it. But guess what? The doctors are all doing it, including all the cosmetic stuff, right? I said, okay, so what is it about banks? What is it that is this creed for bankers? I mean, you guys control money. You guys control the flow of money. You guys decide who gets rich, who gets poor, what the heck happens in this world. And that's the truth. I mean, I've just bought this, I just met this, actually I met this together with Dr. Wong a few months ago. We met Tan Sri Koo Ping, right? In KL at this conference where the photo was taken. And Tan Sri Koo, of course, is the founder of, banks, bought banks, sitting on this bank and that bank bought. And it got me very thinking, So you can think, okay, so what makes banks, so powerful? So I bought this whole bunch of books, Joseph Studwell, whatever it is, it's all out there. And history of Hong Kong Shanghai Bank, history of all these banks. How banks make the tycoons over that period of time where we, evolved from the colonial days to today. And how they did it, and what they backed and what they didn't back, and hence the tycoons of today, including, Ananda Krishnan, including Tan Sri, Vincent Koo, including the bankers and the tycoons of today. And you guys should go read that, because if you're going to be bankers, you're going to know where it comes from. Okay, so it got me thinking, and I go, so what's the banker's creed here? There's got to be a creed. And guess what? The only thing I found on the internet, because everything you find on Google, is this thing by this person. Actually, I don't know, because I'm not a banker. Who is Hugh McCullough? Somebody knows, okay? Written way back then. Say, okay, what the heck does this thing say? No, make sure that the officers of the banks are not spending in excess of their own salaries. And if they are, sack them. Because it means that the banker that is spending in excess of the salary, something is wrong. Okay, interesting. And so on and so forth. You should go and read it up. I'll get to the point then. And they go through about, what it stands for. But I don't know if today we see this anymore. Sorry. We see this anymore. So I'm not against banks. So go read up on these things and you figure out. Two bankers. I think Edgar talked about greed is good. So this came from this show for those of us who are old enough to remember, Wall Street. And of course, Mohamed Yunus, who is another banker, Grameen Bank winner, an award winner of Nobel Peace Prize, right? And two very, of course he was not a banker, as an investment banker, quite different, but nonetheless, here we are. Juxtaposition. Question, where are you? Because we have to choose in life, which one of us, a path, and what do we choose? Don't invite social entrepreneurs to your events. So, Professor Wong talks about pyramid, bottom of the pyramid. This is the pyramid. People, everyone in tier 5 is essentially people who would be less than 1,005 a year income. And more than 4 billion people comprise of this bottom of the pyramid. And we'll come back to this thing. And what are their needs? So in juxtaposition here, so everybody on the top would be on self-actualization, and guess what? All of us are in that. We're all in some spiritual path, finding some nirvana thing. And all these people out there are just trying to figure out, where's my next meal going to come from? And if my next meal does not come, my kid is going to die. And if my kid dies, doesn't get the medicine, what happens? So the real world is actually out there, and it's not in this room. It really isn't in this room. But you guys have the power, each one of you, because you're here to meet that real world. So this is our stand chart thing. It's on security. Okay, this talk is not in any real order. It's done at 4 o'clock in the morning, so whatever I can find on the internet is here. So that's about security, blah, blah, blah. Then I'm thinking, if I can create services for these people, they don't care about what security. They have no identity. Hello. 650 million people in the world, plus, don't have identities. You don't have to protect their identities. You just need to tell them, when you want $1, I get you $1. When you need $5, I just get you $5 in time so that your kid can get to the clinic and do whatever the kid needs to do. That's it. That's all it is about. I don't need to go secure every other thing. And then here you are, everyone tells me go secure this, secure that, secure that. I say, by the time I finish securing everything, I would have lost half these people, and they will give birth to another half. And look, stupidity. And then we have that distribution of money. It's at 4 o'clock in the morning, right? So what do? Distribution of wealth in the US. Let's get to the point of this. What the US, what people think should be the ideal. The top 20% should own, this much of wealth. So 20% own 20% now. But what they actually think, the top 20% own that much of wealth. This is the US. I don't have the stats of Singapore. But by number of Ferraris that have gone around town, nothing wrong with Ferraris, I love the cars, 20%. But in reality, the top 20% own that much, the top 1% own that much in the US. And I bought a book a long time ago, How the Rich Got Rich and Stayed Rich. They don't get divorced actually. They don't, they sit down and they talk. Actually, very emotional people all get divorced and then they lose half their fortune and they all intermarry by the... This is wealth. This is not called the new Mercedes-Benz CLA. I don't know this. Something we can all, and we are playing, entire village, the entire slum, probably afford one of those. And I'm trying to buy my next car, you see. I'm like, trying not to feel guilty. Like, what can I afford? What I can afford is one thing. What my conscience allows me to buy is another. And I'm really like that. I'm really torn. That's reality. More people is needed to compete for this business. More people are needed to figure out what we need to do as the privilege, because I was at Harvard. And when I was sitting in the classroom in Harvard, I got knocked on the head and said, you are the privilege because you're here in this classroom and because you understand what I am saying as a lecturer, therefore you are the privilege. Don't ever think you're not the privilege. And therefore now think, because you're in the position of privilege, what are you going to do? So I'm asking, what do we do and what sort of business are we going to do in the financial services to create something for these people and change their life? Because if you can create something that just double their income, that's doubling of wealth. My goodness. Very hard to double the wealth of the richest man, but very easy to double their wealth. And if all of us try to do that, multiplicative-wise, but guess what? Traditionally, bankers, CEOs, CEOs of entrepreneurs, let's go. I was in this lunch, and I was trying to collect this money for this particular charity with top CEOs because I came from EDB lunch and everything. And it says, no, charity is not for us. I was quite offended. And it was a top CEO lunch, and I was just happened to be there because I happened to be very much in it, the EDB thing and all that. And I thought, if every CEO starts to think that way, because we don't want to know the shit that's out there, sorry for the language, who's going to care? This is where new money was also trying to do something. This is our very recent thing that my guys put together in 1 week. We made, and I'll talk about my terminals later, our terminals accept donations. We got approved by the charities unit. We started to collect money for Agape Rural Health Foundation in the Philippines, and we put the terminals out there, and now we're trying to collect this money. But the problem with all this thing is that more often than not, money doesn't get to wherever it is. 30% of it disappears, and that is the truth. I was asked by the journalist today, how much are you pocketing? I said, no, I'm not pocketing anything. Wow. Because most people who collect money for charities end up pocketing more than they send. Okay, change, tone. 20 minutes already, right? No? Okay. So there's banking, and then there's telecommunications. I think in the new paradigm, the banks are going to contend with the telcos. I was with Singapore Technologies, and we did the EasyLink card. I launched the mobile payments in Singapore in the first IDA call for collaboration. I launched the second internet payment switch in Singapore with the foreign banks here. I set up 4 or 5 payment gateways in the region, way ahead of whatever. And then PayPal came and we said, look, we can't compete with PayPal. Okay, give up our goals and go and do something else. But today I came back into payments because suddenly, 5 years ago, mobile wasn't what it was. Today it is. Mobile reaches 90-something% of the Earth's surface, right? And 5 billion or so people have mobile phones. Or there are 5 billion of these floating around. And if they get recycled, 5 billion people will have it. Pretty good. This is the crossover point between desktop and mobile. And when I was in Jakarta last year with the World Bank consultant says, oh, we used to think, how do we educate people with desktops? How many desktops can we buy? And suddenly now everybody has a computer. And your mobile phone, whatever lowest grade you have, and I was quite interested to hear this, it actually can launch a rocket. It has more computing power than what was launching the first Apollo, right? I bet that. Wow. This is smartphones. Smartphone dropping to the price of $50. It is actually the Vietnam site. There are more people that have access to phones than they have access to toilets. Wow. Imagine you need a toilet, you can't find, you can get a phone. This is the same stats that was on this from Fox actually. It's not very good. So M-Pesa came along. This is M-Pesa in the Africa. As I said, it's not in any good order. But M-Pesa changed the way people pay in Africa by sending a simple SMS to another person and say, I'm sending you some money now. Go to an agent, collect the money. And that changed lives. So here we are, we're protecting everything as banks. We say, oh, you got a KYC, AML, what. I don't think the fellow cares what KYC, AML, because guess what, somebody needed money, I just need to send. There's no other way. If I put it I give it to somebody to take a scooter to send it to that person, the person will pocket 30% of it. And if the person doesn't pocket 30% of it, but disappear with it, but chances of it getting there is pretty tough. So all these informal networks don't really quite work in developing countries, and this is the future of payments. This is how when they 42% by hand to 46% by M-Pesa, the change in Africa. And as a result of that, Safaricom and the head of Safaricom went up to World Bank. This is the change that is to come. So while we are sitting here thinking of banking in Singapore, which is all good, it is good. We need to rethink where is the market, because I think one of the slides will show. Oh, sorry, this is about airtime as money, and I'll go to the other slide. I'm asked, what is this? And this is Economist article. When you are poor, the currency that you have can be anything. So, once upon a time you have cowrie shells, with money, blah, blah, blah. Today, for the poor, in many of these countries, it is just mobile airtime because it is tradable. It is tradable. In Singapore, we don't understand this. We don't understand this because we are all on postpaid airtime. So when you're on postpaid airtime, you pay a bill at the end of the month. But when you're on prepaid airtime, which 70% of the mobile users of the world are on, you can take the prepaid, you can go to a shop and say, I sell it to you, and when you buy it from me, I take back the money. So if I've got $5 worth of airtime, I sell it to you, I can take $4, I can take the $4 and buy milk powder. Essentially, that's what it is. Economists wrote about it, it is changing, and it has been around for years and years. And of course, the bankers are going, no, you cannot do that. How can you go and create a currency? How dare you? But it's done, and it's helping lives. And that's what M-Pesa started off with, and that's what, to some large extent, we are also doing in New Money, and we are approved by ITA. Financial services, 86% of the world is underbanked, 14% are banked. So how do you reach to the 86%? If you don't have a bank account, what do you do? How do you save? How do you pay? How do you accumulate wealth under your mattress? In Vietnam, I think they do that. When you go to the Louis Vuitton shop in Vietnam, I was told, right, in Ho Chi Minh City, they come in bags and bags of cash, because by and large, Vietnam being so developed is still generally underbanked. Okay, so I come to New Money. What do we do? And 5 slides and we're over. This is what we do. We empower, my vision, empower 1 billion in the people in the world with $1 a day with fast transactions, FAST. And what is FAST? This one I learned from Prof, because it's got the last, the least, the lowest, and all that. We use future-looking, we use forward-looking technology for the future, for our joint collaborative future. We serve all people with any amount, especially micropayments. Okay. It is safe and it is secure. For a company like us, we have HSMs. So that's pretty, not too bad. We get the transactions through, meaning that we guarantee the transactions. I mean, why would I want to cheat my